Hi guys, how are you? Gyrus here. See, a good start, eh? I do too many of those. Arms. Arms. Well, they're fingers actually. Hi guys, how you doing? Hiya. Hiya. Gyrus here. How are you? Does that sound too creepy? Yeah, it does sound a bit creepy. Hi, Gyrus here. Many of you, bum, 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 bum. Wah. Okie dokie. Let's try again. I hate saying okie dokie as well. That's nice. I don't know. Anyway. Hi guys, Char. Jesus Christ. Don't know where that came from. Okay, swallow. Are you ready? Hi guys, Gyrus here. Now many of you will remember. Many of you won't. Hi guys, Gyrus here. Many of you have been watching my channel for quite a few years, I hope, and you know about for fuck's sake. Hi guys, Gyrus here. Now you just heard my intro music that I've been using for what, 5 years, and that's the last time you're going to hear it. The reason for that is because I keep getting copyright strikes. Since last September, pretty much every time I use that piece of music, I get a copyright strike. Even though I know who wrote it originally. It was a Commodore 64 game. And I know who arranged it, the more modern sounding version. That was Chris Abbott. But I still get these strikes from a company in South America, and it's just annoying having to contact YouTube over and over and over again for them to take the strike off over and over and over again. So I decided to get some of my own music, original music, totally original. Even the title of the music is Gyrus. So I've been following a guy on YouTube called, well, originally it was called Smosno #1. I think it's just called Dave Mentz now. I'll have to check on that. I'll put his doobly-doo down there. I know he's a great guy. I've been watching his stuff for ages and ages and ages. He's heavily into robots, plastic robots and toys, and especially Transformers. Loves those things, absolutely loves them. His enthusiasm about those is amazing. Anyway, I also know that in the 90s he was a DJ, and he still dabbled with music and all that sort of thing, you know, even now, and he would share a snatch of music occasionally on his channel. So I thought, yeah, I need music. So I contacted him and said, could you do some music for my channel? So we came to some terms. We had a chat about what we needed, what I needed for the channel, what he was able to do. And he started the ball rolling, as it were. The mental creativity whirring. And him and his collaborator, Darren, they call themselves D&D, Dave and Darren. They wrote a piece of music for me over the last 2 months or so, and we got that this week, which we're going to share with you in a mo. But they also did a video of their process, of their creative process. What they did, what they didn't do, what they threw out, all that sort of thing, and that's what you're going to see in about 13.32 seconds. So it's just a short video, and it's quite interesting because I never knew that writing music could be so complicated. Oh my goodness. So you're going to watch that right now.
Right, this is one half of musically what we're calling ourselves D&D, which is me and Darren, because it's Dave and Darren, so it's D&D, which I don't know if that's the final name that we're going to call ourselves yet or not. But I thought I'd walk you through some of the stuff that we've done, because Richard asked us if we could make some music for him for his YouTube channel, so we did. So the first thing we did is put some drums in, and all of the drums are there, and there's a couple of different sets of drums in there that are all compressed slightly differently to get some different amounts of punch. But the reason that they are all different colours is because they've all got different ends on the tails. All of these have got a main construction, but they've all been jiggled around, so the last 4 beats are slightly different to make it interesting. So you've got, well, it's wrong, there you are. Just a nice little shuffly drum beat. Like that. And then the different ones have got different endings on them. That's got a double kick. That's got a double kick in a different place. And then the blue one. So they're all slightly different. Then you take your second set of drums. Like that. And P and 1 and totally different groove to that drum. And these are all identical. These are doing the same thing. But what I've done is when you layer them together, you get this really nice punchy, which is lovely. Then we set some overheads to go over the top, which is just very, very tinny with a little bit of distortion on them to make them move. Then we got a shaker, which is your norm. And then we've got a crash. And then when you add all of that together, which was nice. And then we thought, because Richard wanted some spacey kind of sounding stuff, we thought we'd put some stuff in there that was a bit more laid back. We didn't want it kind of too drum and bassy, but we wanted to take that groove. So we put some strings in, and although we've put normal everyday strings in there, which I will try and, here you go. So these are the strings. These are the average everyday strings that play through most of the track. If I open this up and show you the window, boink, that is all the strings for this record. If I zoom out. So this is all your original notes. And then when you get to here, these little, we made these up. These aren't strictly part of it, but we recreated, we put it in the key that everything was created in the first place. And we just sort of sat and tinkered. It took about 4 hours to get that right, but we really enjoyed the process because the strings were a big part of it. So if I stretch that out there like that, and then the strings sound like this. And then the second one is the same but different here. I really like that. It's very dry. It's not really, it's not got as many effects on it that we would normally throw at something like that. But if you put too much stuff in the overall mix, it makes everything sound all jumbled up. So for the intro, to keep it spacey and interesting, we did one of these, which to my mind sounds very much like the tension string that they use in the Nolan Batman movies. Lovely. And here is something that we've very creatively called Spacey Space. But this is an arpeggiator. But what we've done specifically is it's in a really, really old replica synthesis. So this is like, this Korg Legacy stuff is just a digital version of something that was very, very popular in the mid-80s, early 90s. And it had a very, very limited amount of stuff, but it's got a really, really warm analog sound to it. And to keep that sounding spacey, it does this. Same notes as the strings. The filter we did ourselves, but that was easy to do. These are all just sound effects, so if I put some of these on and cancel this, this is all just sound effecty stuff right from the beginning, because you need some swoops and whooshes and bangs. This one here is a very emotive kind of thing. It's got no content to it. It's barely even in key, but if it sits behind everything and makes everything sound spooky. So if you take all of those little bits and you add them up to the intro and turn all of that stuff off, put it there, the intro sounds like this. That's pretty much where we're at. So you've got the strings, there we are, and then the bass sounds. So if I go 1 and play from there, that's your bass. That's your main pluck. That I'm completely in love with, and the reason I'm completely in love with that is because it sounds really, really sort of Stranger Things, late 80s, early 90s synthesis. I love that. If we check the MIDI sub here, that is in the same notes as the strings again, as you would, but this sits astride the top of the bass, so it's going to do this. It's also got an absolute boatload of reverb on it, so I turn that off, which we did on purpose because that's got very little actual bass to it. It only sits astride the sub bass to make it sound longer and fatter, but without getting in the way of the mix. So that sounds really nice. And then down here we've got the one. If I turn all of this off and put that on, you've got this, which is a second riff. That runs pretty much all the way through everything. Love it. And that's more or less it. We didn't want to put too much in there. We didn't want to overcomplicate things. There's some slightly different layering in places, but if I put that one on there and turn these off, and I put that phaser on, and I press P and 1, which will take me where I need to go, we've got an augmented bass line. And then more or less the same thing, which is going to go here. Again, very, very late 80s, early 90s Korg synthesis. Simple, but emotive. And then when you add those two together, one of them really goes from sort of left to right, and one of them's very down the middle. And by doing that, they phase with each other beautifully, which you won't be able to hear on this, but when you hear it on the video, you will. But it's going to go... And that is slowly sweeping from side to side, from side to side. But only in the top end, not in the sub bass, because you can put the sub bass on there as well. If I put the 909 with that, it's going to go... And then if you turn everything off and play that bit, this bit really makes me happy. So that's pretty much it. That's how we just tagged everything together. It was, and this is the final part of a project that we imported loads of stuff. I'm going to show you some of the stuff later on that we threw away because it was a bit too aggressive and it was a bit too grrr, and we went back to the drawing board, and the computer project actually crashed at one point and it didn't save properly, and we had to go back and missed some stuff. And then when we came back the next week and listened to what we'd done, we sort of went, no, I don't really like it. It's not where we want to go. And we went back to where the direction that we wanted to go in, which I was really pleased about. That's a very mature thing to do musically, because it's very easy to just stick with what you've done because there's a lot of effort in it. And if it's not the right thing, then it's not the right thing. What I will show you lastly is if I press F2, these bits down here, which I'm going to zoom in to, these, okay, are the bounces of your music. So everything that I've showed you all the way up here, okay, all of this stuff are loops. So if I play this one and go P1 and I turn all that off and I press that and I just press the end, when you get to the end of this piece, goes back to the beginning. This bit is the same but different. If I put that there and P, oh no, don't there. So we're gonna. So by choosing all of these different subsections of music that I've bounced, you can actually import these into your video editor and arrange them the way you want them, because they're all going to be titled different bits. So when we send them through, if there's one that you really like or one that you don't like, you can sort of choose what you want and put them in. So if there's a bit that's quite frenetic and you've speeded it up and that sort of thing, you can have the full drum and bass drums going. But if there's a bit where you're sort of doing chatting and you want to get a bit more in depth with it, we've done you something like this, which if I put the audio on, nice and laid back, no drums going. So you can turn the volume down on the channel, and then the last one's here. That's just everything going together. If I put that at the end, you can hear how it loops. So you got a bit of control on what you want to do and how you want to work it. The last piece that we've done for the end of every video, because we don't want it just to tail off and do nothing, one of the sound effects that we've used in the actual track itself, you can put right on the end. Yeah, so if I take the loop off, it's going to do this. So you're going to get to the end of whatever piece it is you've chosen. For continuity's sake, that is the piece of music that we've written. We've not given it a name. That's up to you, because it's your piece of music. I've really enjoyed doing this. There's been some real life problems that have got in the way from maybe the time scale that I would have liked. But it's a good piece of music. I've really enjoyed doing it. It's nice and loud. It won't be too bad. You've got the choice of how to arrange it in your videos, and it's got a bit in there specifically that's not too aggressive. So if you want to do voiceovers, etc., you can turn it right down. And if there's anything you want, anything you changes, you can always give us a ring. All right. This has been one half of D&D saying we made a music.